Niklsun here, and welcome to Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. I'm your host, and on this show, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we'll be going over all of the day's movie news, as well as going over what it means for the production in general, such as casting decisions, trailer announcements, director announcements, things like that. So, without any further ado, let's get started with today's Hot Topics. We finally have a title for Star Wars! So, this was so surprising. This came out of left field. No one was expecting this. This is the first time that, at least to my recollection, that any studio has ever done anything official through Twitter. Whether it be just like, you know, they have an official commencement where they have a big event where they announce it and then they, to everybody else, release it on Twitter. But no, this is what they did. Disney officially revealed the title for Star Wars on their Twitter page, on the official Star Wars Twitter page. And the new Star Wars movie, as you can see behind me, is known as Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Now, at face value, when looking at this, you could look at it and say, it's very generic. It's almost as generic as The Phantom Menace. You know, it doesn't have the same kind of pull or attachment as The Empire Strikes Back or, you know, Revenge of the Sith. Say what you will about the film. That was a really good title for that movie. So, I mean, you know, thinking about what does it mean by The Force Awakens? This is what's going to destroy humanity, is the speculation as to what this title actually means, because outside of the title and the cast, we don't really know anything official about the movie. There's a lot of speculation about it. And as you guys have probably noticed, if you're regular watchers of the show, I've been withholding talking about any of the Star Wars rumors that come out, because there was especially one about a month ago that came out that apparently ruined the movie. Like, it apparently just gave away everything. So I've been refraining from reading any of those reports. I don't want to really talk about any of those rumors, because Star Wars is one of those types of films, especially this new one, where it's going to be a completely new vision while maintaining the same aesthetic and the same feel that the original trilogy had. So this is something I really want to... I want to experience it as naked as I can. Get your mind out of the gutter. I mean, I don't want to know hardly anything about the film outside of what the company officially reveals. And even then, once they get into the final month or so, month and a half of the film, they start releasing the TV trailers. I avoid those like the plague. I do not like the TV trailers because essentially they show you a lot of footage that the theatrical trailers didn't show you to entice you to get to see the movie. But once you start watching all of those, you'll get a much greater idea of the footage that you're going to be expecting in the movie, and not a lot of it is going to still be a surprise. I mean, take Interstellar, for instance. I have not seen any of the TV ads for that movie. I made sure that I was not going to watch any. I think I might have watched one, and it was the very first TV spot. And then it had a lot of footage that the final trailer had, so I wasn't that upset by it. But I tweeted out after it. I said, don't watch these TV ads because there's going to be a lot of stuff in there that you don't want to see. And having seen Interstellar twice, I can definitely recommend that movie. That movie is just absolutely incredible. It's a movie that will divide people. There are a lot of areas in the film that will be viewed upon differently by everybody who sees them. I personally felt that while the movie is almost 3 hours long, it didn't feel that way. This is going to be my mini review. I'm going to do a big review of it on Monday with Devin and with Joe when I have my big episode, the 3-part episode I'm going to be doing on Monday. But, I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. But getting back to the Star Wars news, a lot of speculation is coming out now as to what this means in terms of the story of the movie. Now, again, we don't know anything about the film. They have not officially revealed anything. All of it right now is just speculation and rumor. But, I mean, The Force Awakens. What could that mean? And so, looking back on it, The Force Awakens, it could be detailing the fact that this movie has been confirmed to be set about 30 years after the events of Return of the Jedi. And for the most part, it was only Luke and Leia, in terms of the official canon, that we knew of people who had Force powers, or at least showed that they could have Force powers, because we never actually got to see Leia use any of those. But anyway, this could be talking directly about Luke, because we know that Han and Luke are going to be very crucial to the story. We still have no idea how Leia fits into this, whether or not she is still in a relationship with Han or whatever the case is. We still don't know what her involvement's going to be, but this is either going to speak directly towards Luke, and the fact that over the 30 years he's really lost touch with the Force, or he's just given up on it, or whatever the case may be. And potentially him coming back, something causes him to have to come back. Maybe it's the reported lightsaber that they find and it gets returned back to him, and just holding it actually brings something out about him. It could also be talking about the rumored villains in the movie. Now, this is from a while back, so this is why I'm talking about it. I haven't read anything in the past couple of months, but with the rumor of the Inquisitors being the main villains in the movie, this could also be harking back to them because they are basically Jedi hunters. And so it could be dealing with either a resurgence with the Sith or with the Jedi, because it doesn't say the Jedi awakens. It says the Force awakens. So there's a lot of speculation to be had on this. We're going to be going over this in detail, at least as much as we can, on Monday's episode, both me and Devin and Joe, to be able to kind of pick it apart and see where this could lead. So we're going to be giving more information, at least on Monday, at least more speculation, I should say. But as it stands right now, Star Wars The Force Awakens, I can't believe we have the title now. Star Wars The Force Awakens opens up on December 18th, 2015. There is a rumor going around that we may be seeing a teaser trailer for the movie in December. Speculation right now has it being in front of Into the Woods, I believe, because that's another Disney release. So, I mean, I could see them doing it. At the year mark, it makes a little bit more sense than the rumor of the Batman v Superman teaser. But, I mean, I'll get into that in a little bit. But still, I mean, having just an announcement trailer, they did that last year with Interstellar. And Interstellar had just a very tiny announcement trailer. But that also means that they now have some kind of a schedule they have to adhere to, where they have to release a new trailer within 5 to 6 months. And now 5 to 6 months later is going to be, that'll be June. So, I mean, it'll be right before Comic-Con. We'll probably get something around Comic-Con. I'm starting to notice that the companies are now starting to have their own events. They're not trying to inundate Comic-Con with all of these announcements. They're having their own announcements, very clearly shown by both DC and Marvel in the past month. So, and I mean, Star Wars, they even said last year that there's going to be nothing about Episode 7. Now, they didn't say that next year we'll have Episode 7, but I mean, Disney has D23. They have the Star Wars Experience. So, I mean, they have all of these different conventions and events that they can go and announce all their stuff at. So it's going to be a while. We're now just about a year and a bit away from the release. Understand that. We're just over a year away from the release of the brand new Star Wars film. That just has me so excited. I cannot wait. But check back on Monday for a little bit more information, a little bit more roundtable discussion about this topic. But if we do get more information about this topic, I will definitely update you guys on here. During an investors call yesterday, Disney CEO Bob Iger actually officially announced that they are moving full steam ahead on Toy Story 4. And it comes to a surprise of a lot of people. I mean, yes and no. Let me explain that. So, to the surprise, yes, because if anybody has seen any of the Toy Story movies, you know that after the end of the third film, they pretty well ended their story. I mean, there were little breadcrumbs as to where it could possibly continue on, but they ended their story. They're now, what's her name? Bonnie, I think is the name of the woman who owns them now. And so, I mean, they went away from Andy. Andy, he went off to college and all that stuff. He's a grown-up kid. And it just looked like it was going to be the perfect way to end the story. Well, now it looks as though John Lasseter, the head of Pixar and the director of the first two Toy Story movies, as well as Cars, it looks as though he has apparently, with his creative team, come up with this amazing idea, which they would not divulge. So we have no idea what it's about, other than it's going to be, how did he word it? Was it a reshaping of the world that we know, or it's going to be a brand new adventure, a new story that they came up with? But they were really attached to. They really took to this idea. It was who else was it? It was Andrew Stanton, Pete Docter, who did Monsters, Inc. and Up. And then you got Lee Unkrich, who, as far as I know, Lee was the one who was in charge of The Good Dinosaur and then was fired. But I may be having him mixed up with somebody else. But he was also the guy who was responsible for Toy Story 3. which was the most successful of the movies. And I don't know about critically. I think still the first and second ones are rated a little. I think it's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes for 1 and 2, and then 99 or 98 for number 3. So I mean, the most revered trilogy in all of history in terms of its critical response and the fact that how many people actually do love it. Now, whether or not they all love it more than another movie is irrelevant. Based on this, it is the most revered trilogy in all of film history, just based on its critic score. So not fan reaction, not anything like that, not cultural impact or anything of that sort, just based on critical response. So don't attack me. There are no story details as of yet. We have no information about this movie. Outside of the fact, this is kind of surprising as well, Rashida Jones and Will McCormick are the people who are actually going to be writing the script. And that to me is kind of refreshing because the story details are going to be lined out by Andrew Stanton, John Lasseter, Pete Docter, and Lee Unkrich. But the main story or the main script itself is, especially Rashida Jones. I mean, she's just absolutely hilarious. Anybody who's seen Parks and Rec knows that she's really funny. I haven't watched a lot of episodes of Parks and Rec, but I've watched a lot of segments on YouTube to understand just how her comedic timing works. She's just really, really, really funny. And she's been in a lot of really great stuff. One of the main ones that I can still remember her from was, it was a small part, but it was in the Social Network. She didn't really have a memorable part as much, but it was, I mean, that's the beauty of a Fincher film, is that he's able to make even the smallest characters, the most inundated characters, stand out. So I really did like that. But Tim Allen and Tom Hanks, as well as the rest of the voice gang, are still expected to return. There's no official confirmation, but they've been involved in all of the shorts and all of the TV specials up until this point. So I can't see why they wouldn't be involved. I mean, Tom Hanks, yeah, he's still pretty busy, but Tim Allen doesn't really have a lot going on right now, which is kind of a shame because I wish they would just get Galaxy Quest 2 off the ground. I don't even want to get in on that film because that is just one of my favorite all-time satires. I mean, it's so good. I'm going to get into it. I got to stop. But yeah, Toy Story 4, as it stands right now, is expected to come out on June 16th, 2017, which to me is a little bit odd because they've now given this film a date. We have Finding Dory has a release date, but Incredibles 2 still doesn't have a release date. I think it's expected for 2018, but I don't think they have an official release date for it yet, and I wish that would be the one that they would put all their chips in one basket. I think what they're waiting for right now, before we're getting any more information on Incredibles 2, is for Brad Bird to finish Tomorrowland, which that to me is just such a wondrous trailer. I mean, if you guys haven't checked out the trailer for Tomorrowland, go and check it out because it's wonderful. It's very short. It doesn't really give a whole lot, but the sense of awe and wonder that it instills in you when you watch it, at least that's how it affected me. And I was captivated right away. I wanted to see more from this movie. Right, I was on board, sold me on it. I was good to go. And so Brad Bird doing live action like that and instilling that kind of wonder with live action, I cannot wait to see what he's able to do with Incredibles 2. So, I mean, Pixar looks to be coming back up. They dipped down there for a little bit after the release of Cars, and then they had, Cars 2, they had Brave. Monsters University was okay, but I mean, to me, it was almost like they were grasping at straws. And this year was, I think, a really good time for them to take a step back. Originally, they were supposed to have The Good Dinosaur come out this year, but they had a lot of production problems on that. Or should I say animation problems with that, and direction, and a whole bunch of things. A lot of things happened in the background of that movie. And so they pushed that to next year. So next year is going to be the first year, I think, ever that we've had 2 Pixar movies released in the same year. And then after that, we're going to have at least 1 to 2 films every year. So, I mean, we're coming back almost into a new age of Pixar movies, and I'm excited for those because there's such great stories. They're so well told, even if they were live action. But, I mean, just the animation styles of them alone is just very fascinating. And I mean, my favorite of all of the Pixar movies still to this date is WALL-E. I think WALL-E was just a perfect film. It had very little dialogue in the movie, but the amount of emotion that came out of that robot was just, I mean, it was like a mini Johnny Five almost. That's what I took away from it. It was Johnny Five's long lost cousin. And I loved that movie. It was just so well done. And I hope that they get back to movies like that. And that's what we've seen in their little shorts that they put out. So I'm excited for it. Again, no story details are out as of yet, but the movie is expected to come out on June 16, 2017. Most likely be hearing about the official casting announcements, even though everybody's going to be coming back. There's no doubt about that. They wouldn't move forward unless they had Tom Hanks and Tim Allen on board. They wouldn't do it. I mean, because now they'd have to go into negotiations, and then Tom Hanks and Tim Allen could come out and say, well, you guys have already told everybody it's coming. So if we say no, you guys are in a pickle. We want $40 million for it. You know, they could. I'm not saying that they will, but they could do that if they didn't get them already on board. I'm pretty sure they've already got everybody locked in, so that's not going to be an issue. But when we get more information about this topic or anything else about any upcoming Pixar film, I will definitely update you guys on here. This is a little bit surprising to me because of how close we are to the actual release of this film. We're just over a month away from it, and they're just releasing the final trailer for it. But we now have our official trailer for The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies. And when I first watched it, because I was at work when the trailer dropped, and the first time I watched it was just on my phone, I wasn't incredibly wowed by it. There were elements of it that I really did like, but the one thing that I got from it, at least on first glance, was the orcs and the goblins, to me at least, don't look as intimidating as they did in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Now, I know this movie is set before Lord of the Rings, but in Lord of the Rings, the orcs, the goblins, the Uruk-hai, they were all, with the exception of the massive armies, when you saw hundreds of thousands of them, they were pretty much all makeup. They were all physical makeup and physical costumes, and they looked terrifying. They looked menacing. And looking at them in this film, when they're all CGI, I mean, I'm taken out of it a little bit. Because, first off, the CGI, either, if this is the finished CGI, I mean, the character designs themselves look like video game graphics. And now, okay, I know that there are people out there who will say, well, you don't know how to make computer graphics. You don't know how to do this. And absolutely, I do not know how to do those special effects. I never claimed to know how to do those special effects. But when you are working for a company, when you are a professional and trying to deliver a film that reportedly has an over $200 million budget, and your CGI is coming out and looking like that, that is not a good sign. Now, outside of just the way that those characters look, this film looks to be massive. It looks like they are approaching Return of the King level battle sequences. And the one thing that I've noticed, now again, this is just based off of this trailer and the other two movies that we've seen, but it looks as though with them stretching the movies from 2 to 3 movies, it looks as though the only one that was really affected by that was The Unexpected Journey, the first one. Because that movie was, it was way too long. It should have only been about 2 hours long because it was essentially just them walking. They didn't really do anything of note in that film. You know, they almost could have gone without it and just had a little like 10-minute recap at the beginning of Desolation of Smaug. And then that would have been the setup and the story and all that stuff. So there definitely were areas in the first movie that could have been removed. But looking at this film, the scope of this movie looks incredibly massive. They've retaken the mountain. The dwarves have retaken the mountain. Then you have the Elven King, I think it's Thandril. Thandril looks to be reclaiming the mountain for some reason. He thinks it's his, and I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I haven't read the book, so I don't know exactly what the. And I know that there are a lot of elements in this movie that are going to be taken from the appendices, so I don't know how closely it is going to stay to the book itself, but I don't know his reasoning behind it. But then there's also the goblins that are going to be coming in and attacking. There are the eagles that are coming in, and I forget who the 5th army is. I want to say it's man, but I don't know if it's man. You got the dwarves, you got the elves, you got the goblins, you got the eagles. I don't think it's orcs. I think it's just going to be goblins. I don't know. I'd have to look into it, but you can get glimpses in this trailer of the proposed epic 40-minute battle sequence at the end of this film. Like the third act of this movie is apparently one long 40-minute battle sequence, and that to me is really exciting. Now, whenever they say that it's going to be this long, you know that it's going to be intercut with something, because you cannot have just an extended 40-minute long action sequence. I mean, take for instance, I know that I talk about these movies and how bad they are, but look at the Transformers movies, especially Transformers 3, The Dark of the Moon. The ending of that movie is basically an hour-long action sequence, but there are little breaks in between the action sequences, little tiny ones. And somebody like Peter Jackson would obviously have a little bit longer ones, but if you have a 5 to 6 minute fight, and then you have just a little 1 minute break, and then you have another 5 to 6 minute fight, and a little 1 minute break, and just keep doing that, then it keeps the excitement level. You get a little bit of character development in there. You get little dramatic sequences. You raise the stakes. It sucks you in a little bit more. I mean, again, this is not going to be really a spoiler for Interstellar, but there's a sequence in Interstellar where it's jumping back and forth between two big sequences that are happening simultaneously. And it just, you're unnerved. You're just sitting there and watching it like, oh, okay, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? So there were a lot of really great sequences in that. Again, I mean, just coming back to the CGI, like I'm not against all CGI characters. It's just when you get the uncanny valley happening, which is when you look into a CGI character's eyes and you cannot see anything coming back, like what happens in almost every Robert Zemeckis motion capture film, it takes you away. It takes you out of the film a little bit. And I hope that doesn't happen with this movie. I just think that because of what Peter Jackson was trying to do, not only shoot it in 3D, but shoot it in 48 frames per second, I don't think that the makeup tests worked. And I think that's why they had to do this. Because I remember, what's his name? He played Slade Wilson on Arrow. He played Crixus. Manu Bennett. Manu Bennett plays the White Orc. He plays the orc that's got the giant scar across his face, got the giant hook hand. And originally, when they shot the film, they shot it with somebody with prosthetic makeup. They shot it with a guy who had this prosthetic makeup on his face. And it didn't work. The frame rate was too high. The 3D meant that there were different angles, which meant that it didn't look right. It looked fake. And they had to subsequently go with CGI. That, to me, right there meant that you're only doing this because you want to do it in 48 frames per second, not because it aids in the storytelling, not because of anything of that sort. And I think what happened there is what's the word I'm looking for? He sacrificed the quality of the movie because he just wanted to have this. He wanted to have this one trick note. He wanted to have 48 frames per second. The first movies ever to be released in 48 frames per second, to be filmed in 48 frames per second, a new way of viewing movies. Well, then the first one came out and people hated it. And then they almost didn't even advertise the fact that the second movie was coming out. I haven't seen, except for right at the very end, it says IMAX 3D and HFR, high frame rate. But they haven't been advertising the fact that you can see this in a higher frame rate. I think that there will still be theaters that will offer it in the higher frame rate, but I think this is also showing James Cameron that people do not want this. They do not want it. It looks fake. It looks cheap. It looks low budget. The production value looks low. The common complaint is makes it look like a soap opera. So I hope that they don't. But again, there were elements of the trailer that I really got excited about. I got excited about the massive scope of this movie. I'm really excited to see how big this is. Not only that, but how they tie this in to Lord of the Rings and how they conclude this defining chapter, because they're calling it the defining chapter. And I really want to know what they mean by that. But one other rumor that is going around with Hobbit, The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, is that it will actually have the first teaser trailer for Batman v Superman. And I talked about this about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now, about how much I think that is the world's dumbest decision, because that is way too early. You don't need, especially a movie like Batman v Superman, you do not need to start promoting it yet. March of next year, I think even is still way too early. Star Wars, on the other hand, is a movie that you can start planting those seeds and just do a little 30-second teaser trailer or 40-second teaser trailer, but when it comes to Batman v Superman, first off, Man of Steel did really well financially. The Dark Knight movies they just exceeded expectations as to how much money they could make. They don't need to promote this movie, at least not yet. I'm hoping, and I know this is not going to happen. I'm almost certain that we're going to have that teaser trailer in December. I would prefer us not to see any footage until Comic-Con. Release a couple of stills here and there. But we don't need a trailer. Once you get the first trailer, then your mind, then if you know kind of the pattern that usually happens with movie trailer releases, it's usually between 3 to 5 months that will go from the first trailer to the second trailer. And then the second trailer will have about 2 or 3 months, and then the third trailer will come out, and then the movie is released about 2 months after that. So right there, you got about an 8-month window at most when it can really work. When you look at this, if they release a trailer in December, that then means if they want to hold to that schedule, the next trailer would most likely have to be shown sometime in May, either May or June. That would be when the next trailer would have to be shown. And that's even pushing it. That's going a little bit too far, I think. Once you get to there, then you have another trailer release. So that would be, let's say June. Let's push it 1 month and let's say June. So then you would have September. September would be like the end of September, beginning of October would be when they release their next trailer. So that's the third trailer. And you're still 6 months out from the movie. Then you release another trailer about 2 months to 3 months before the movie comes out. And when it's coming out in March, you can guarantee they're going to have a Super Bowl ad. So that means right there, we're going to have 5 major trailers that the majority of people out there will have the option of seeing. Not just a teaser trailer, not an international trailer. I'm not even including those. Or a TV trailer, sorry, not a teaser trailer. But, I mean, I just think that it's a really stupid decision to start advertising it this early. Let me know what you guys think, if this is a smart decision or a stupid decision. I know that as a fan, I want to see as much footage as I can right away. But as you start to see the footage, you go, oh my God, I can't wait to see this. It only comes out in a year and a half. I mean, that to me is just way too much of a wait for the majority of people out there. We already know the movie's coming. We've already gotten a few little glimpses, especially that leaked teaser trailer that came out after Comic-Con. Even if they just showed that, I mean, I don't think that it needs to be publicly released unless you just release it as a quick little online thing. But don't have it in theaters, because then you're going to see, you know, in 2014, you'll see coming in 2016. It's like, whoa, you know, that's way too far away. That's way too far away. So no, I think that it's an absolutely stupid decision for them to do that. I hope they don't. But I mean, there was a tweet that was deleted from the official IMAX Twitter account that said that Batman v Superman teaser trailer will be shown with the Battle of the Five Armies in December. And then they deleted the tweet, and that was officially from IMAX. So, I mean, that's why I'm saying that it most likely is going to happen, and I hope that it doesn't, but it most likely will. But when it comes to the Hobbit, the Battle of the Five Armies, the movie opens up, I believe, on December 18th or 17th. December 17th. And if we do get more information about this topic, then I will definitely update you guys on here. Back in July, it was being reported that Mark Wahlberg had looked to be signing on to develop the new version of the $6 Million Man movie, which would most likely have been called the $6 Billion Man. At the time, Peter Berg was linked as a producer, but nothing else was really known about the project. Well, it looks as though now that both Mark Wahlberg and Peter Berg have officially signed on. Peter Berg will, in fact, direct the movie as well. And this, to me, I really like this because Peter Berg is one of those directors out there who has a really cool visual sense. I mean, even Battleship. Battleship was a do one for us, you can do one for yourself type of situation, because that made him be able to do Lone Survivor. You know, he had to do Battleship because that was a movie they wanted to do. Universal was the same company that did both. And he was able to then go and start working on Lone Survivor. They allowed him to do that. Or not allowed him, but they paid for it, essentially. So, but you go back on his career. I mean, even before he did The Rundown, I really enjoyed The Rundown. I thought that was the first movie that The Rock did outside of the Scorpion King franchise, where you really got to see his charisma. You got to see the action sequences. Sean William Scott was really funny in it too, and he really bulked up. And I wish that he would come out in more movies because I really think he's really funny. But this new take is going to be interesting because we really don't know a whole lot about it. But what I said back in July when I talked about how he was being rumored for it was that to me it essentially seemed as though it would be a movie version of the show Intelligence. And I was hoping that would be the case because I really did like Intelligence. I thought it was a really cool show. It had a really great idea to it. It wasn't executed as well as it could have been. It's one of the reasons why the show was canceled. But the way that people interact with technology nowadays really does allow for this movie to have almost carte blanche in terms of what story it wants to tell. And to me, it excites me. I love movies about technology as long as they're done properly. And that's why Transcendence was such a letdown for me, because that movie had so much potential and it was just a snooze fest. It just abandoned its great ideas halfway through the movie. Just overall, it was just a very, very poorly done, executed film. This movie, on the other hand, I think is going to be a lot better because it has, to me at least, it has a more experienced crew working with it. I mean, yes, Wally Pfister did work for Christopher Nolan for close to 12 to 15 years. That being said, he was just his DP. He was not his director. Christopher Nolan was the director. Peter Berg has been a director for a long time, about 15 years at least. So, I mean, the dude's got a lot of experience. He's directed several great action films, the aforementioned Lone Survivor and The Rundown being two big examples. I really do think that he's got the chops to do this. I think Mark Wahlberg is definitely one of the right actors to choose this role because he's got that leading man quality, but he also has the comedic sensibility. So he's got it on both sides. He can work a character like this, especially if they're going to go with a action comedy vibe. And I think it's going to be a little bit more action oriented, but there is going to be a comedic vibe to it. So I am really excited about this. They are aiming, as it stands right now, to start filming at some point next year for a 2016 release, but that is still very early in the discussions. It's only being reported now that Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg are officially signed on to the film. And I think this is a great team to work with. I really liked what they did with Lone Survivors, a really great character study. These two clearly like working together. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely on board for it. I really, really will support this movie, especially once we start getting more and more information. Because I still remember, I even talked about this on my July episode, but I remember for the longest time when Jim Carrey was attached to the new version of the $6 Million Man. Now, clearly it can't be called $6 Million Man anymore because of inflation and all that stuff. If you want a more detailed explanation, you can check out my episode. It was on July 7th that I recorded it. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. I think that this could really work. I think it could be fun. It could also prove to be a really great franchise for Mark Wahlberg, who surprisingly hasn't had any franchises yet. He's been a part of franchises, like he's in the Transformers movies, although I hope he doesn't come back for the fifth one, unless they actually write a story for it. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. Again, they're aiming for a 2016 release as it stands right now with no confirmed date or even time frame, but this is not going to be an awards contention. This is going to be a summer film. It's going to be big. It's going to be action-oriented. It's going to be funny. So, yeah, I mean, I'm on board with it. I like it. I'm sold by it. So, yeah. I mean, Mark Wahlberg, Ted 2 is going to really define as to whether or not he still has really great comedic chops. And then you got the Gambler, the trailer that just showed up the other day. I mean, that was just a really cool little teaser trailer. Well, I'm talking about the Red Band, but they had the official trailer come out as well. So, I mean, he's riding a career high right now. He's got his pick of the litter. So, yeah, I'm on board. Peter Berg's directing it. 2016 release. 2016 is becoming a packed year. Wow. But yeah, if we do get more information about the $6 billion man, then I will definitely update you guys on here. Well, that'll about do it for us here on Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have been a great audience. Go ahead and click the subscribe button there in the bottom corner. You can get updates whenever we post a new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at Niklsun, Niklsun, for all of your movie updates. You can also give us a like on our Facebook page at facebook.com/movie news with Niklsun. Now, normally on every Friday episode, I do take some time out to answer the user-submitted questions. Obviously, today, there was so much news that came out. There were even other stories that I couldn't even get to today, just because of time constraints. So, definitely, if you guys have any questions or anything that you want to have answered, put in a question in the comment section here or email us at movienewswithnicholson@gmail.com. And on Monday's special episode, we'll try to get to a couple of them there. But normally they'll be answered on every Friday episode. So definitely put a comment in the comment section or email us at movienewswithnicholson@gmail.com. And usually every Friday episode, we'll try to get to as many as we can. But until next time, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.